One of my resolutions for this year is to do more mezcal and other agave-based stuff. I've done a fair bit, but I haven't done as much as I probably should have because, frankly, it's intimidating to do mezcal. Um, like I've said before that mezcal is kind of the Burgundy of spirits. It's addictive. It's expensive. It's incredibly varied. You could spend your whole life just drinking mezcals and never get bored of them. Um, but it's also just incredibly complex and nerdy and sort of intimidating to talk about when there's other people out there that know more than you. Like it's like trying to talk about mezcal on my tiny pokey little YouTube channel here. It's like talking about a Burgundy and just knowing a guy is gonna who knows more about this stuff is gonna come up and be like, "Oh yes, that bottle there has something of the 1990s from Bon Ma, doesn't it?" And you're like, "Okay, I'm just not gonna talk about these anymore." So there's a little bit of that. So, all right, but I'm gonna try to do more this year. I got a whole big backlog, but we're gonna start with Derrumbes, which is I don't know how to pronounce this. Derrumbes, whatever. Um, this one from San Luis Potosi was on my year's best list of last year. This was the Lot 53. Um, and in general, I've just found Derrumbes to be a really interesting bottler because they're sourcing stuff from all over Mexico. They're not just sticking to Oaxaca. They're not just sticking to one particular area. They're trying to do representations of agave spirits from a whole wide range of stuff, and they've been doing it for a while now. They're uh, one of the older, a reasonably older bottlers. So let's do two more of them. Also from different spaces, and also not from Oaxaca. We have got a Zacatecas. Sorry, I don't think you can see the color. The color on the Zacatecas is almost exactly like the color on the San Luis Potosi. I don't know if you can see this. They look almost exactly alike unless you're actually like reading the text on the bottle. It's a little bit of a pain. Um, and we have got one from Michoacán. So let's pour these and get the review going. All right, so you got different distillers, different regions, different agaves, different everything. And that's kind of cool. All right, so we're going to start with the Zacatecas because, or AV. I have reviewed one other Zacatecas Mezcal before. I was a hair bit disappointed. I found it a little bit like bacony and desserty, but we're going to see how this one does. This is it's the Derrumbes Zacatecas Mezcal Artesanal. This is from why did I lisp that? Hacienda de Guadalupe. Sorry, I feel like I'm on the mainland. Made by Mezcalero Jaime Bañuelos. This is lot 10, distilled in March 2021. 1,150 bottles, so you should be able to find this. Bottled at 45% alcohol, which is why we're starting with it. This next one's a little bit higher. And if you turn it around, you get the stats. So the agave is our old friend tequiliana. I just did a whole video on agave tequiliana. Bit roasted with white oak, mashed with tahona, fermented with wild yeast and stainless steel, and then distilled in alembic, copper and stainless steel. So good information. They're not telling you how long the fermentation was, or they're not giving you super nerdy details, but it's enough. So let's get started, see what's happening on the nose here. So basically, I mean, the main story is agave tequiliana from Zacatecas. On the nose, it's actually quite kind of dessert driven. It smells like I'm getting a lot of like yellow cake elements. So like, get your box of like store-bought cake, make that shit in your oven, smell it. That's what this smells like. But there's a little bit of like there's some earthier elements too, like burley tobacco, burley flake tobacco, and a little bit of like almost a dried mud thing. It smells like quite. I mean, it's going to be dry, right? It's a distilled spirit. They haven't tampered with this, but it smells quite sweet. It smells kind of very desserty. There's a little bit of like a hardwood smoke thing, like almost if you took like applewood smoked bacon. If you ever go to like upper New York State, get yourself some applewood smoked bacon, but without the bacon part, without the like the pork belly, just the smoke part. And that's most of what's there. It's kind of like yellow cake tobacco, some kind of, and like earthiness and a little bit of smoke. Maybe some cardamom in there, like a little grapefruit peel. It's a nice note. Especially compared to what I was expecting after this monster, which is really weird. Like, this is pretty darn straightforward. A little more yellow cake. There's some like some coffee notes in here, but it's like a coffee ice cream thing. Like roasted marshmallow, really like burned marshmallow. A little bit of like it caught on fire a little bit, not too much. Okay, smells nice. Let's see what happens on the palate. Okay. Huh. So, very well made, good development, solid finish. But maybe I'm just looking at this the wrong way. After this thing, the San Luis Potosi, I was really expecting something a little bit wild, weird, out in left field. This is not that. This is much kind of like safer. This is playing with a much more accessible, kind of delicious profile than I thought was going. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just kind of a little bit simple and a little bit safe, and that's fine. It's nice. Hardwood smoked Twinkies is kind of my first thought here. Um, Vanilla, milk tea, like Hong Kong style milk tea, hot, not cold. Like like a little bit of spearmint, really. A little bit of mud. You know what's in here actually? I haven't used this note in a while. Oatmeal stout. There's a little bit of like a oatmeal stout with like a little, with like the nitro thing to make it extra smooth. That's kind of what's going on here. Um, one more shot. Certainly good. Simple, but good. Very, very well constructed. I'm curious to see what water does to this. Let's give it a squirt. Not too much. It's only 45%. And let's move on. This next one is the Derrumbes Michoacán Mezcal Artesanal. This is from, oh, I'm not going to pronounce this, Uh, Tzitzio, best I can do. There's distilled by Mezcalero Guadelupe Pérez. This is lot 10, I think. It could be a 70. I think it's lot 10 because, yeah, I think it's lot 10. For 1,450 bottles, distilled November 2021. And the stats are on this are what make me excited. Half cupreata, 50%, and half agave inaequidens, which has a bunch of names. Bruto, Alto, I think it's also called. One of those cool kind of agaves local to Michoacán. Pit roasted with red oak, milled in, they're calling it a mechanical mill, fermented in wood and clay, wild fermentation, and then distilled in a so-called Filipino still made of copper with wood and copper, so copper with like a wooden top. Look at a picture of these things. You'll see what they look like. So, just checking to make sure I grabbed the right glass. All right. Did I mention the ABV? The ABV is like 47.7%. So we're still not in the stratosphere with this, but it's a little bit higher. Almost 48. And the nose is okay. This is kind of what I was hoping for. Totally different. Very, very Michoacan. Toasted lemon peel is like my first thought. There's some grassiness here, but it's not like dried. It's like a sour grassiness, like fresh wild grass that's kind of sour. And a scoop of fresh yogurt, like really fresh yogurt, not store-bought stuff. This is like farm fresh, funky. And it just keeps on coming. Key lime. Balsamic vinegar. Not like real balsamico, that's too expensive, but like good grocery store balsamic vinegar, that stuff. Wine must vinegar. Hardwood smoke again, but it's more like a cherry wood smoke kind of thing now. Actually, speaking of like cherry notes, this kind of reminds me of like good Oregon Pinot Noir, like a good Willamette Pinot. It's got some kind of mixed red fruit, cherry, cranberry, and a kind of smokiness to it. A little bit of a savory element. Yeah, I mean, to wrap it up, a good Willamette Pinot, like something from Yamhill Carlton or something. And there's something behind that, which I'm guessing is the Bruto. There's a little hint of like herbaceous something, like almost a mint chocolate thing. Keep going with this. It will start throwing a lot of blood orange with you, at you. I'm sorry. Really nice. Not at all what the people who go to the grocery store to buy, illegal or whatever. This is completely off the rails from that, and yeah, I appreciate it. Completely on a different planet from those. Not just in terms of the quality, but also just like the notes it's throwing at me. All right, so kind of austere, definitely driven by sours and kind of like dairy funk elements, but I'm into it. On the palate. Oh. Hang on. So I was expecting, I was expecting that same austerity to kind of carry through on the palate, and it really doesn't. There's a little. Actually, there's more than a little, but this is freaking delicious. I'm not gonna lie. In the same way that a really good, properly aged, high end Burgundy is super duper complex, but at the same time, like you will make that bottle disappear in like way too fast and be like, where did it all go? How did I drink all of this so fast? This is kind of doing that too. There is a deliciousness factor, like a drinkability factor here that is absolutely has to be respected. This tastes like the best mint chocolate chip ice cream you can buy with like a squirt of lemon on top, a big squirt of lemon, and then like a scoop of yogurt on top of that. And then you're just going to sprinkle some dirt all over the whole thing. And I am really on board with it. Great form, too. Oh, yeah, just kind of like... It starts kind of spicy and sour up front, and then it just spreads all over my mouth. There's a lot of flowers happening on the finish, actually. On the nose, it was more like a sour, fresh grass thing. On the palate, it's really flowery. There's some rocks, like almost a... Again, I have to go back to Willamette here, like some cool volcanic basalt rocks. Hardwood smoke again. Hard to figure out what hardwoods, but maybe just some cherry in there, applewood, oak. Yeah, sure, why not? Black pepper. There is actually some proper grassiness in there too. There's lots of little details on this. I may have to give myself a little bit more. Yeah, why not? Just a hair more, just so I have enough left over for after I add water to it. Yeah, that's righteous. All right, let's add some water. We'll come back to it. So at this rate, I kind of feel bad for the Zacatecas because the Michoacan is crushing it a little bit. All right, let's give that a squirt. But we'll see if it can come back from behind. Take the W on this thing. All right, back to the Zacatecas. On the nose. So it's the smoky stuff that actually kind of comes out, like a hardwood smoke thing. But it still smells like very kind of cakey, very desserty. And a little like grungy too. This smells like a fresh asphalt or a dessert. That doesn't make any sense, but I'm going to go with that. That's kind of my thought. Interesting, fun. On the palate. Water makes it feel a little bit brittle on the finish. Makes it feel a little hair bit like thin. Hold on. No, you know what? It's not so bad. It's not bad at all. On the second sip, it kind of reasserts itself. What do I score this? I mean, so on the one hand, is it what I was hoping for? Or is it like the bizarre trip into crazy land that I sometimes, hope for when I'm going into the outer reaches of agave world? No, this is very easy drinking. This is very easy to kind of wrap your head around. But it's not. but so it's simple and straightforward and delicious, and not very challenging and not very interesting, but it's still pretty darn well made. Yeah, sometimes the hard thing to score aren't the really terrible things or the really 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 good things. Sometimes it's these kind of somewhat middle of the road but very well made kinds of things that are just tricky to like. What number do I give this? I'm going to give this decent enough development. Not a whole lot of. There's really nothing new going on with water. Finish hangs on. I'm going to call this. Finish is bugging me a little bit. I'm going to give this an 84 minus. 84 minus out of 100. And I kind of liked it better neat. I did. All right, moving on. Back to the Michoacán. On the nose. Gets a little bit more floral, actually. That kind of grassy note I was getting develops into a full-blown kind of wildflower thing with the water. And nose is just a hair bit sweeter. This is still definitely on the nose, on the austere side of things. But now it's just like you put a little drizzle of honey on top of your like super funky fresh yogurt, if that makes sense. Yeah, otherwise pretty similar, honestly, which is not a problem. Like I like this nose a lot. It's a fun, very distinctive, very Michoacan style of nose on the palate. Ooh. So with water, so on drinking this neat, I found the palate to be way more kind of decadent and desserty and delicious and sweet than the nose was. And with the addition of water on the nose, there was a little bit of that kind of decadence that's crept into the nose. Here with water, it's a little bit more of those sour, like austere elements are creeping into the palate. So now it's more, there's more lemon, there's more like funky yogurt stuff. It's still really delicious, but yeah. Now it kind of tastes a little bit more like it smells, which is, and that's fine. I drink this any old way. I love this both ways. It's delicious. It's complex. It's just beautifully balanced between, the chocolate chip ice cream thing, but at the same time these more sour, challenging elements. This is great. It's not great. It's very good. 88 points. Easy 88 points for this. The only problem it has is, do I think it's really better than this thing, the San Luis Potosi? I don't think it's actually that much better. It's a fun variation, and it's still a hell of a value for how good it is, but this is an even better value for how good it is. So bear that in mind. And that's the video. 84 minus for the Zacatecas, and 88 points for the Derrumbes Michoacán. Thanks for watching, and cheers.